Hello, all. I hope everybody is doing good. Today, in this session, I will be sharing my opinion or talking about the EXIM Bank, which is nothing but Export and Import Bank. As far as the international business management is concerned, related to it, EXIM Bank is more or less a particular country related because you have EXIM Bank, export and import bank, certain countries. It is a privately owned or stately owned and majorly a central government or federal government owned banks. For example, if you take US, for example, in US, EXIM Bank, the Export and Import Bank, is a federal owned or federal administered bank, which means a central government, not the state or a council. Likewise, if you see China, Exim Bank of China, which is a state council owned, again it is a different political, politically run government. So, but still, the central government owns it. When it comes to Bangladesh, it is a privately owned bank. Then you have Thailand. Still, uh, Thailand in Thailand, it is a state-owned a bank, which is which is as good as a private bank. But if you look at it a larger picture like US and India and China, most of these banks or these countries founded these banks to promote the international trade and the uh, international shipping or financing the pre-shipping or post-shipping credit finance and as an insurance agent or helping directly or indirectly the manufacturers or the traders in their own countries. So previously we have studied the international payments method and international credit finance and insurance, all that. So Exim Bank was found at the later stage to help or assist or coordinate the international trading, international pre-shipping or post-shipping are coming in between the importer and the exporter, are helping them with the credits. Certain certain things can be funded or non-funded help. This is what Exim Banks does in China, India, and US, and they also come under the World Trade Organization and other controlling bodies of international market and trading. So now let's go and discuss particularly what exactly the roles or important functions or the facilities that an export bank does. I would be referring more to the countries which has founded Exim Bank for international trading and credit, the pre-shipping credit or post-shipping credit, finance or insurance. That can be US, India. We can take India as an example and a larger picture so that it will it will help you understand what exactly the Exim Bank generally does. All right. So if you think about what exactly the Exim Bank's role in a country like India, uh, it provides the credit to the the international, the manufacturers. And in India, it was founded in 1981 under the Export and Import Bank of India Act in 1981. Whereas if you take US, it was founded in 1933 and 1933 to 1943-44. It took a lot of reforms in terms of the laws or rules of the bank. Then the board of directors who has to be there to guide the bank or function the bank or execute the sort of functionals this way. And China was 1993 and 94 in 90s, and Bangladesh again was in 1999 or 2000. Then if you take certain European countries, they also started in 90s. So China again, it was in 90s. So India and US, the best examples that you take. So India, it was started in 1981 for providing financial assistance to exporters and importers, and for functioning as the uh, a principal financial institution for coordinating and working of institutions engaged in financing export and import of goods and services with a view of promoting the country's international trade and for matters connected between are incidental thereto. That means, like I've told you, this is the objective of this bank to be formed is to help the international traders from India or from US. People are selling and buying their products. This way, the Exim Bank is coming between the buyer and seller at times, or only the buyer or the exporter from your country. That means Indian Exim Bank is for Indian exporters or the manufacturers, and the US Exim Bank is for US entrepreneurs or business entities who wants to uh, promote. So they help with the capital investment, the then the pre-shipping credits or post-shipping credits to help the operations and to generate more business without stopping the operational process. This was their main objective. Of course, US is for the US citizens and the Exim Bank of India is for Indians. But at the same time, they can help the other countries who are lesser privileged in terms of finance or resources or any other features that a country has. If you take China as an example, it has helped and it has lended money to other countries, other developing countries, more than anything. In 2010 to 2015, there was an there was a report, a statement from the uh, World Trading Organizations telling that China has lended more money to developing countries or poorer countries more than the World Bank, which is which is which is not good. So China is very good at this. So you never know. So this way, but India, we don't see much of the money is given to poorer countries, but here and there they would help. But India has taken help from China as well as US. All right, so don't get confused when I say Exim Bank. It's not a World Bank or a bank which is owned by certain countries. No, it is particularly to a country-owned bank. Recently, when Obama was a president of US, he has come down to India in 2014 at the verge of he was losing uh, his election. He lended more than $2 billion to Indian entities, those who want to produce the products in US. Certain things, if you read the news, you would come to know what exactly these banks do. So more or less, India, China, and US, these three countries will be in the news for this. Even African countries have a group of EXIM Bank. They have their own laws, but their agenda, their objective, their idea is to promote the international trading. Right? Now that is it. Then EXIM Bank role we can also take, for example, which has two broad business streams. One, the traditional export finance, typical of export credit agencies around the world, and number two, financing of export oriented units, which are non traditional for export credit agencies. Since they have started, Exim Bank has been the principal financial institution in the country for financing project export and export on deferred credit terms. There was a memorandum of instruction on project exports and a service export. That means if you have a company or a business in your country which wants to do a contract projects, that can be a road building or a commercial complex building outside your country, it would help you in gaining the project and the documentation right from the financing for your labor and the capital investment. So the bigger the project, the better the facilities or the support from the Exim Bank. That we need to understand. And you can name them as the the projects are, for example, supply of goods, equipment on deferred payment terms, civil construction contracts, like I've told you, road and complexes outside your country. Then the industrial turnkey projects, the consultancy and services contracts. There are international civil contractors. They would construct outside their country and they are internationally famous. Singapore is one of Singapore and Malaysia. They are one of the best technology in the civil projects. In India, recently there was a state which bifurcated into two, which is Andhra Pradesh now, which is into Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Back in 5 years ago, it used to be one single state, but politically and constitutionally, it has become two states now. Now the new state has to build its own government buildings and other infrastructure for it to be moved to the other state. So it took up help of the Singapore and Malaysia because they are famous. They know how to make it faster and utilize less resources and build it faster. That is the agenda. This way, so you can see Exim Bank or some other bank in the Malaysia and Singapore helping them because it is a great project. It would bring a vast money to a government as well as the construction company. That can be in the form of consultancy and services contracts as well, like I've told you. So these are the best examples that we can take as role of the export and import bank. Then, like I've told you, the pre-shipment credits, it provides uh, a pre-shipment credit facility in Indian rupees as far as Indian government is concerned, and foreign currency if you are going outside the country and having your projects. And it also provides access to finance at the manufacturing stage, enabling exporters to purchase raw materials and other inputs. Pre-shipment credits are usually extended by exporters, commercial banks for a period up to 180 days because the term itself says pre-shipment, which means before you're selling your goods or before you starting your project outside. So you need some money, right? You don't have as a capital. So Exim Bank comes and helps you, but they have to. There is an eligibility criteria. They would check your documentation, come down to your site, and they would consider whether you're really getting this project or not. They would do a back end check as well. This is why you need to be eligible for this project. And like we were discussing, Exim Bank may consider extending pre-shipment credit and post-shipment credit for periods exceeding 180 days on case-to-case basis and subject to the merits of the case. Like I've told you, it differs from case to case. Max is 180 days that they give you for repaying your loans or the financial help that you got it from the Exim Bank. Then you have suppliers credit. We You must have heard it in our previous classes, the suppliers credit or the exporters credit. This facility, enhances Indian exporters or any country which Exim Bank has, like US. Even the US has the same uh, suppliers credit to their businesses, to their exporters, to extend term credit to importers. That is overseas. That we are discussing that if you're not, uh, if this project is not taking place in your own country, then that's considered as overseas to eligible goods at the post shipment stage. Then post shipment suppliers credit can be extended to its exporters up to uh, extent of deferred credit portion of the export contract, either in their own currency or the foreign currency. The period of deferred credit and moratorium will generally depend on the nature of goods. List A and List B of memorandum or nature of projects as per guidelines contained in the memorandum of PM of RBI. Or if it's Indian Exim, then you take RBI's PM. If it's US government, then you have federal government's contained rules or regulations. They have their own guidelines for them. This way, the supplier credit can be explained. Then you have exporters of consultancy and technology services, which is nothing but particularly Exim Bank offers a special credit facility to its businesses or exporters of consultancy and technology services. So that will help in turn extend term credit to overseas importers. It not only help the exporter, but it will help the importer as well. The sense how to make this project faster while saving the cost. When you reduce the duration of the process, the trading, then definitely it will come down the prices. When this process reducing your cost of the duration, then definitely you can bring down your prices of the products or services. Then the importer will be benefited by this. Of course, this you can see in vegetable or transfer or shipping. This happen in vegetable transfers. The vegetables are really a time oriented, a time consume can get the market in demand for this product. Or sometimes you make it on time, you can reduce your costs as well as the end user's costs. So it's a win-win situation. So that's another good benefit or a good feature that the Exim Bank has in terms of the consultancy and technological services. Then it guarantees facilities. The Indian companies can avail of guarantee facilities of different types of furnish furnish requisite guarantees to facilitate execution of export contract, including deemed export products and import transactions. That is of the overseas entities we were talking about. Then you have buyer's credit and overseas entities. Overseas buyers can avail of buyer's credit from EXIM Bank for import of eligible goods from India on deferred payment terms as per Memorandum of Guidelines or the RBI, Reserve Bank of India. It has already authorized. You have many examples on this. EXIM Bank to extend overseas buyers credits up to $200 million for project exports without seeking approval of RBI. That means though you have guidelines and you have to you know move ahead under the RBI's guidelines, that is Reserve Bank of India. In US it is Federal Reserves. So it is $20 million. If it is up to $20 million, 20 million US dollars, you don't have to mandatorily seek the permission of the RBI. Same way you will have when it comes to US government, you will have a certain criteria or guidelines. Maybe up to the limit you don't have to seek the permission or go ahead with all the verification, the documentation process. So if it is crossing that limit, then you have to go ahead and seek their idea. So that's about buyer's credit. In fact, this facility enables exporters or contractors to expand abroad and into non-traditional market. It also enables exporters, contractors uh, to be competitive when bidding or negotiating for overseas jobs. And mainly the benefits that we can notice for the foreign customers is they can enable overseas buyers to obtain medium and long-term financing, competitive interest rate against host countries' high cost of borrowing. Like I've told you, it's a win-win situation for everybody who are involved in this process. That's what they're trying to do. Then you would need to know the eligibility for this. Buyer's credit is extended to foreign project company that intends to award the project execution to an Indian project exporter. The financing will be available to all kinds of projects and service exports from India. Facility is available for development, upgrading, or expansion of infrastructure facilities, financing of public or private projects such as plants and buildings and professional services such as surveys, architecture, and consultations, etc. Like these are the eligibilities. Like I've told you, the bigger the project you have, uh, imagine an Indian company is getting a construction or a civil construction project or a technology project from US, which is definitely a reputation for a country like India that its business or exporters or manufacturers are trying to serve the other countries. That means our quality is going to be improved. Then tomorrow, the rest of the countries in the world would look up at India and say that, all right, Indian companies are better in technologically it is proven, but when it comes to the civil construction, we are yet to develop and gain that trust from the developed countries. So that way, that is the eligibility, like architecture, consultations, and surveyors. These are the professional surveys, like the plants that you're trying to build. Nowadays, there are companies that are going out and there is one Adani Groups, which is which is doing its mining in Australia. At the same time, they have uh, earned a lot of projects in Australia. This way, you can promote. So, Adani Group is getting a lot of help from the government. So, that's the eligibility. Though how they check the buyer's credit under NEIA is like NEIA is a unique financing mechanism that provides a safe mode of non-recourse financing option to Indian exporters and serves as an effective market entry tool to traditional as well as new markets in developing countries, which need deferred credit on medium or long-term basis. Under this facility, EXIM Bank facilitates projects export from India by way of extending credit to overseas sovereign governments and government owned entities for import of Indian goods and services from India on deferred credit terms. Exim Bank will obtain credit insurance cover under NEIA through ECGC, that is Export Credit Guarantee Corporation, that we will study in the next session, which is a uh, entirely dependent or an independent institution, which is again helping the uh, trade finance, like pre-shipment or post-shipment, credit finance or insurance. They're more into insurance. So NEI is a trust set up by the Ministry of Commerce and administered by the Export Credit and Guarantee Corporation of India. Facilities available for project exports, required medium or long-term default credit. So, like I was saying, I mean, no matter which country and what exactly your guidelines are, but the bottom line is Exim Bank is to help the trade finance, and which comes under the commerce and industry government of that particular country. You can take any bank. China's Exim Bank, again, it comes under the commerce and industry ministry. India, again, the same. But in Bangladesh, it is a privately owned bank, and Thailand, it's again a state-owned private bank. Then US, it comes under reserve, federal reserves, again, which comes under the Ministry of Commerce and Industries. That we need to understand. So the eligibility for this buyer's credit, this extends, the Exim Bank extends the credit directly to overseas buyer of projects from India without recourse to Indian exporter. Borrower should be overseas sovereign governments or government owned entities. Amount of loan should generally not be more than 85% of the contract value. Sovereign guarantees need is actually needed where the borrower is other than the foreign government. Any other security may be stipulated on a case to case basis. Like, you can take this example for post when this eligibility comes is when the 85% of the product is sovereign guarantees. In the sense, if you're doing this with a business with a developing country or a developed country, at that time they would check whether your project is greater than the insurance that you're seeking or not. This is for the insurance cover as well as the credit that you're seeking. So here Exim Bank comes, and gives you a guarantee as far as your project is, or the goods are branded or have a proper, what do you say, a recognition in the market. Then you have export oriented units. Export oriented units or corporate banking. Yeah, export capability creation loans extended by the bank may be classified into the broad categories. For example, finance for overseas investment, finance for export oriented units, and finance for financial intermediaries. Besides loans, the bank also extends non fund based assistance by way of guarantees and letter of credits. The three categories are discussed as the overseas investment, like term financing to overseas joint ventures, wholly owned subsidiaries, as well as to their own country companies, towards part financing of their equity investment in overseas, like joint ventures and wholly owned subsidiaries. Equity investment participation in equity of overseas ventures of Indian companies. Working capital loans to joint ventures and wholly owned subsidiaries. Guarantees to joint ventures and wholly owned subsidiaries. Then the export oriented units are in under asset creation, you have equipment finance, then the project finance. Under working capital, you have medium term, then the short term finance. Under special products, you have export marketing finance, export product development finance, export vendor development finance, then the research and development finance, finance for software technology parks, finance for development minor parts, creative industry financing, project related non fund based guarantees, and the letter of credits or guarantees and standby LCs. Like we were discussing, EXIM Bank not only helps you with the funds, like they would also help you with the LCs, letter of credit, then the guarantee uh, and standby LCs. Like they will tell you, they will give you a guarantee letter, which is a certification or a no objection letter or a certificate that would carry a lot of value to an organization or a process that you're doing, which is very great. There are a lot of companies, they depend on these certifications. Most of these bigger companies, MNCs, they always go and get these financial certifications or the guarantees or the letter of credits, which carry a lot of value. Then the next is research and development finance for export oriented units, which is the here Exim Bank encourages its exporters to invest more in their R&D spending in order to develop new products, processes, IPRs for enhancing export capabilities. Considering the need to bring the need to bridge the funding gap of Indian exporters in R&D space, the bank has a dedicated R&D financing program. Under the said program, financing for R&D can be extended to an export-oriented company (SPV) promoted by companies irrespective of the nature of the industry. The financing covers both capital and revenue expenditure, including inter alia. That means among these land and building, civil works, and housing eligible R&D activities. The equipments, tools, computer hardware, software, miscellaneous fixed assets used in eligible R&D activities, then acquisition of technology from India or overseas at the proof of concept or design stage, which will be used to develop new product process, salaries of R&D personnel, then support staff during the R&D project phase, including training costs, cost of regulatory approvals, filing and maintenance of patent registrations, product documentation, and allied costs during the R&D project phase, costs of materials, surveys, technology demonstration duties, and a field trial, any other costs to enhance the R&D capability. So they would help you an organization which is into all this. If your company is acquiring a technology based firm outside your own country, then if your acquisition into land and building, civil works for housing eligible R&D. I think we discussed in the marketing, international marketing, and the quality of the products and how you grow, how you scale up your business across the globe is when you have a better R&D. It has been proved. You go to any country, any developed country like Germany, Japan, and other UK based countries, then US, you take any successful country which has best R&D. That means the better team you have, the efficiency of your R&D is more, better chances that you become a country with successful organizations in terms of international trading. So Exim Bank has no surprise that they want to help the R&D. They mention many times. You go to any bank, any uh, a private institution, they would help an enterprise which is getting into R&D. You take Apple company which has more R&D teams across the globe. Even in India, they have the China, they have any developing country they want to get in, they would set up a R&D. R&D used to be more in Germany and other countries, but nowadays it has started in India and other Asian countries as well. So that's a good sign. So that's why they say that your company is into buying a better technology oriented companies. We help you. Then of course they would see your eligibility. That are said, export oriented firms with exports actually projected of least at least 5 crores of rupees or 10% of the annual turnover. 5 crores is sort of $1 million, you say, 1 million to $10 million, and your project has to be at least a 10% uh, annual turnover. If you have 50 crores, then the 10% would be 5 crores. So if your company is about 50 crores, that means close to $10 million, then you're going to get this project. That's the first eligibility. Then R&D finance is generally extended up to 7 years. However, longer tenures with suitable interest resets would be permissible. Structured repayment can be considered to match the cash flow. Up to 80% of the total project can be funded. What else you need? So all you need to have is you have a better project. Your organization has convinced the contractor, giving you away the project. You have to convince that organization. As far as you got it, you have everything. You have 7 years to pay this off, or you have, and you also have banks are coming out and helping you with 80% of the project cost. Then the security include among appropriate charge on the assets, corporate guarantee charge, assignment on the regulatory approval, IPR, personal guarantee. So they would see your turnover as an organization, how you created values for yourself. That's it. Then the, we've discussed a lot of pre-shipment, post-shipment credit program, right? So here is a Exim Bank extending export credit to its exporters to meet wide range of trade financing requirements for execution of an export transaction. Like I've told you that you do not have money, you have completed your products or manufactured your project, brought to the port, but you don't have money to you have a buyer, but you don't have money to push it off. You don't have money to pay to the insurance agent or the shipping agent, and you don't have financing institutions helping you. So this way a credit program comes into pre or post shipment program. Then eligibility again, exporters with a track record that I've told you that as an organization, how are your banking records? What is the credits you have? How are you paying your debts? Are you behind in your debts? How far you're behind? And the reasons if at all you're behind, and if you're completely good enough to pay off your debts, and why you require our loans. They would check all these things. Then the margin of 15 to 20% under pre-shipment and 0 to 10% under post-shipment. It differs. If it's post-shipment, they they help you 0 to 10%, and if it is a pre-shipment, it's 15 to 20%. Then adequate security to be provided. Typically, security includes appropriate uh, charge on the current assets, including export receivables and ECGC cover, etc. ECGC is again, as we discussed, Export Credit Guarantee Corporation, that we discuss particularly specifically in the next videos. And every country will have medium, small, and enterprises. So MSMEs can apart from the corporate banking facilities, there are additional services that Exim Bank offers to support small and medium enterprises, which are called as MSMEs. In MSE ABD line, Exim Bank has arranged for a credit line from the Asian Development Bank for providing foreign currency term loans to the MSME borrowers in certain specific lagging states of India. They are backward states. Those are Assam, Madhya Pradesh, and certain states. These foreign currency term loans can be financed domestically with the capital expenditure of the borrowers in Indian rupees, besides meeting their foreign currency capital expenditure requirements and the assistance to these MSMEs. These will actually help increasing competitiveness in the relatively backward states and help in integrating them into the mainstream economy. So, under the Act of MSMEs, these small and medium enterprises, not bigger enterprises, but small and medium, but they have to have certain quality and the innovation in their products. You should be sustaining in the market, existed. You have your own customers. Customer notice your products. If you have all these qualities, then definitely Exim Bank helps you. So they have mentioned certain backward states. That means they are financially not good. The education institutions are not better. So people always migrate from that state to different states. So that way, this state has been the particular ABC states have uh, stayed back. They are not competing with the other states. So those states are eligible to get this. That's the first criteria. Though you have lagging behind in other qualities or features, to be eligible for this. EXIM Bank's MSME finance. You can take this example. There are many companies, those who go to backward states and start their companies just to gain these advantages. So every state in every country, let it be China, in southern country, in southern states, they always have international exhibitions for traders to manufacturers to go there and check the availability, the documentation, what advantages you have. You can set up your park or plant and start it off. This what the eligibility, like I've told you, they check everything and give you that. That's the eligibility. Then for the cluster of Indian MSMEs or EOUs, this under this program, development of new geographically contagious cluster industrial park involving creation and maintenance of common infrastructure and common facilities, including inter area construction of buildings and civil works, acquisitions of assets or technology for industrial units within the cluster industrial park, then upgradation of an existing industrial cluster or industrial estate. This means if you have an industrial park, you are going to construct this. You have to be a MNC sort of company in civil construction. Then only you will be eligible to get these projects. So if you're building a technology park or a manufacturing industry park, then you will get the cluster of Indian MSMEs or EOUs. Then again, you have a technology and innovation enhancement and infrastructure development fund, which is TIED, which is nothing but the funds can be provided to you uh, if at all you're into technology and innovation enhancement and infrastructure development, and the funds will be provided to you. With this view, uh, they will facilitate credit flow to the MSMEs, the small and medium enterprises sector at competitive rates, which means you will have lower rates in terms in the as an interest rate. It's not the private bank is giving you 8% per annum, but the Exim Bank is giving you 8% per annum or 7%. That doesn't make sense. So it will be under 5% or more, sometimes even 2-3%, which is pretty good for an organization. Then Exim Bank is a setup of technology and innovation enhancement and infrastructure development fund of up to 500 million USD dollars exclusively for MSMEs to augment their export competitiveness and internationalization efforts by penetrating with banks. TIEID seeks to meet long-term foreign currency loan requirements to Indian exporting entities in the MSME sector for meeting capital expenditure through refinancing of banks against the eligible small and medium enterprise financing portfolio. And the eligibility they need, you have to have is a scheduled commercial banks, financial institutions in India having acceptable credit risk for no longer to MS. You shouldn't have any other loans with any other banks, especially with the uh, government run or government administered bank, which are called as uh, federal banks in US. Here it is a central bank, as we call in India. So that's about the technology and innovation. We have few more. Now you have a lending program for financing creative economy. Uh, This is nothing but you as an organization you should have a creative sort of ideation or a product which boosts your economy, your country's economy. That can be originated or their origin in individual capacity, creativity, skill and talent, and which have a potential for wealth and job creation through the generation and exploitation of intellectual property, advertising, architecture, art and antiques, market, crafts, design, film and video, interactive leisure and radio, in view of the large untapped potential for increasing exports by the creative industries, and in order to provide a strategic focus to these sector and enhance Exim Bank's presence in the creative economy space. Actually, Exim Bank has introduced the program specifically for financing the creative economy. It's nothing but if you are a movie producer, which helps a skill development. You can talk about banks. You can. There was a movie called Chuck Day India, and other. There are few movies which were helped by the Exim Bank or the government funded things. Not only in the form of money they give you, but in the form of uh, you know not asking you to pay the entertainment taxes. That is a huge money that you can save. Then in their own capacity, government government publishes in their own leaflets and advertisements, so which will not cost you anything. And if you're competing in the other entertainment tournaments, you can go out and compete with the government's help or the Exim Bank's help. Then, if at all you're going to lose, you will have a insurance cover if you ask for before making a movie or anything that for that matter. It can be arts like painting, sculpture, antique photography, media or publishing and painting media, newspapers, anything. So, which is nothing but a creative economy as far as Exim Bank is concerned. Then finance for grassroots enterprises, which is again, Exim Bank here supports the globalization of enterprises based out of rural areas of the country through its GRID grid program. Through this initiative, the bank extends financial support to program or promote grassroots initiatives, technologies, particularly those having export potential. The objective of the program is to help artisans, producer groups, clusters, small enterprises across the country realizing remunerative return on their produce essentially through facilitating export from these units. Well, if you happen to be a remote area or a rural area which has got no infrastructure or any other privileges that a city enjoys, like a metropolitan city enjoys. So that way, again, if you happen to be a product producer or a manufacturer, and that product has a export quality, and government verifies it and considers it, and you can sell it to the other countries apart from your own country, then again they will come and help you that way. Then we have board guidelines and procedure for government of India supported lines and credit, which is nothing but a line of credit, which is nothing but we've already discussed it. Line of credit, everybody knows, is a financing mechanism through which Exim Bank extends support for export of projects, equipment, goods, and services from India. Exim Bank extends LOC on its own and also at the behest and the support of Government of India. Exim Bank extend lines of credit like foreign governments or their nominated agencies such as central banks, state-owned commercial banks, and parastatal organizations. So it is again a line of credit is again a non-funded sort of help that you get. Um, that tells the story about it. Then we have marketing advisory services and export advisory services, and you have multilateral funded projects overseas and activities of EXIM Bank. EXIM Bank, since its inception, has been extending LOCs to various countries to promote of projects, and the LOC is for 7 years. And I'm talking about the broad guidelines and procedure of EXIM Bank on commercial lines of credit. Like I was saying, foreign governments, regional and national development banks, and commercial banks. EXIM Bank finances all items eligible for being exported under the foreign trade policy of Government of India. The credit periods for these LOC are generally up to 7 years, and LOCs typically carry LIBR linked interest rates, which is again under this program or a scheme with Exim Bank, you will reduce your taxes, which is a great help. Trust me, as an entrepreneur or a manufacturer, you have a lot of taxes to be paid, especially to the central government. If you are getting subsidies from them, then that's a very big win, especially at the manufacturing state. That's what they're trying to say here. Then they provide you LOC. Then the LOC period is up to 7 years, and you have marketing advisory, which is nothing but you don't have money to pay off or capital to invest on marketing professionals, which is in which way Exim Bank plays a promotional role and seeks to create and enhance export capabilities and international competitiveness of Indian companies. Exim Bank, through its marketing advisory services, helps Indian exporting firms in their globalization efforts by proactively assisting in locating overseas distributors. Though they say it is a small help that you get, they will promote you in international markets. But if you ask me my opinion, do not go for government's marketing advisory sort of. Private companies are better for marketing. Reason not only India, I'm not talking about India, but any government, even if you go to US, government owned marketing advisory, the promotional activities, they just do it for the sake of doing. Uh, I don't agree with this, but yeah, you would get this advisory service for free if you do not have money. That's again non-funded sort of privilege that you get from the Exim Bank. Then they would provide you export advisory services. Like every now and they check the documentation. They have understood the issues while exporting, because every now and then they receive complaints. They go people going to them and explaining about the issues that they are facing uh, time and now, which is a very good feature. You know, they are the best people to know that what are the pains of exporting or importing processes. So this is the good one compared to marketing advisory, which offers a diverse range of information, advisory, and support services which enable exporters to evaluate international risks uh, and exploit export opportunities and improve competitiveness. Value added information and support services are provided to Indian projects exporters on the project funded by multinational agencies. So, as I've told you, they know in and everything. I mean, in and out of this business. So that's a good a feature. Then the multilateral funded projects overseas. which are, if you're not going to one country but different countries, many countries you're heading into, that time which helps. We were discussing only about you as an organization going out to a certain country and under one project. But what happens if you have multiple projects, several projects in several countries to be implemented this project? So even then, Exim Bank comes and helps you. That's the MFPRO guidelines. Here and there differs from US and India, but that's the meaning of it. Then the activities of Exim Bank, we've already discussed. It's about the bank can raise additional resources through borrowing from Government of India, from RBI, and from the market through the issues of bonds and debentures. Exam Bank also provides finance facilities to the commercial bank and financial institutions against their export-import financing activities. Uh, One thing we can notice or remember or applaud is during the year of 2003, Exim Bank sanctioned loans of up to close to 8,000 crores, which is $1 billion today's value, while debentures announced up to 5,000 plus crores, which is again close to half a million, more than half a billion dollars. Then net profit of the bank for the period 2003 account for general fund amounted to 280 268 crores, which is 300 crores, which is close to again 30-40 million dollars. That's the activities. So Exim Bank, in overall concept, if you ask me as a layman, nobody knows about Exim Bank unless they have done some business or exporting business. Uh, Currently, I am associated with a data center called Trigit, which has its data centers in US and UK, Washington, and England. So we know we've gone through the Exim Bank. So they've given us many facilities. The moment they come to know that it's been almost 12 years, they have set up their data centers in US in 2 3 states. I'm not supposed to reveal the names and other. So I'm generally telling. So Exim Bank has provided many facilities and helped them a lot. Here in Bangalore, they have acquired a commercial land in an industry, a tech park, uh, through Exim Bank. They have helped because they saw that this is a potential business, so they wanted to help and they have helped. So this way, business people who are doing businesses across their, uh, apart from their India, I mean domestic, they are doing international business across the borders. They know the value of Exim Bank. So generally, which helps international trading, exporters as well as the importers. Uh, that's it, and which is this comes under Government of India Ministry, Commerce and Industry Ministry. Then these guys are answerable to the Reserve Bank. In US, it is a Federal Reserve Bank. It is like that. I believe you understood this. Since it is more of a verbatim, so I had to refer the sentences and the quotes. I cannot go ahead and generalize all these things, so I had to look into it and give you the exact examples. I believe this would help you. Thank you very much, and good luck and do well. I wish you good luck towards your examinations. Thank you very much.